Well, I guess it's full mask off time for the left. Although, really, the mask has been off for quite a while now, hasn't it? And of course, this is the entire English speaking world, not just the US. It's the same authoritarian march everywhere. And we didn't really need Hillary Clinton to state, as if it's completely reasonable, that her political opponents need to be reprogrammed. To be honest, coming from the left, this isn't even extreme anymore. And you'd think in a sane world, every single journalist would condemn rhetoric like that. But that's not going to happen. I mean, here, this is from 2020. Broadcast coverage of Trump, 95% negative. That's not an accident. That's not that Trump is uniquely bad. That's just an organized campaign of activists. And speaking of mask off, here, Donald Trump followers targeted by FBI as 2024 election nears, from Newsweek. So Donald Trump followers, well, it was 75 million in 2020, be more than that in 2024. The federal government believes that the threat of violence and major civil disturbances around the 2024 U.S. presidential election is so great that it has quietly credited a new category of extremists that it seeks to track and counter: Donald Trump's army of MAGA followers. Army, that's an interesting word to use, isn't it? Did the FBI call them an army, or is that Newsweek calling them an army? Maybe it should be rewritten as just Donald Trump voters. And you never hear them talk about, extremism like, 2 billion in damage from the George Floyd riots. Here's a headline from the New York Times, May 31st, 2020. Protests near White House spiral out of control again. Near White House? Well, that's the White House right there. How about just saying protests at White House? You know, the one where they tried to burn down the White House chapel, where they tried to burn down a guardhouse, where hundreds of police officers were injured, where the first family had to be taken down into the bunker under the White House? I don't know, that seems kind of extreme, right? Not so much to the New York Times. Here, do you remember the red speech, Biden's infamous red speech?
But first, we must be honest with each other and with ourselves. Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
Yeah, nothing extreme about that. Nothing authoritarian about that. Yeah, I mean, it's not like the Department of Justice is persecuting his main political rival, that it seems like everybody who's ever known Donald Trump is being attacked by the Department of Justice, by Democratic DAs, by the IRS. Oh, yeah. All right, well, we better move on. So anyway, all of that said, hear from Glenn Greenwald as she gets increasingly bitter about her 2016 defeat, even when you think there's no way that she can. Hillary Clinton is more and more the liberal id. She just spews what liberals really think and feel, but know not to say.
Very strong partisans in both parties in the past, and we had very bitter battles over all kinds of things: gun control and climate change and the economy and taxes. But there wasn't this little tail of extremism wagging the dog of the Republican Party as it is today. Mm-hmm. And sadly, so many of those extremists, those MAGA extremists, take their marching orders from Donald Trump, who has no credibility left by any measure. He's only in it for himself. He's now defending himself in civil actions and criminal actions. And when do they break with him? Because at some point, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members, but something needs to happen.
That's right, because it's Opposites Day. And all coming from the woman behind the Steele dossier and the Russia hoax. So yes, people voting for somebody that she despises, that's extremism. And Glenn Greenwald here, he says more and more of the liberal id. Well, none of this is actually liberal. What happened to, the old school, the traditional liberals, is that the far leftists burrowed their way into the middle of them and consumed them from the inside. And now people calling themselves liberal are just wearing the hollowed out skin of what a liberal used to be. And it used to be people that believed in free speech, free expression, economic freedom, actual rule of law, that sort of thing. Yeah, there's very few of those anymore. Yeah, your old burnout art teacher from the 80s? He's been replaced with Antifa. And I will tell you right now that reprogramming, formal reprogramming, is not a liberal idea. That's a dystopian nightmare. That's Maoist. That's struggle sessions. That's far left authoritarianism. And when you've got Hillary Clinton just openly saying it, how far away can it really be? This is why I'm of mind now that just anything from the left now needs to be rejected. Anything they say, anything that they want, we just have to say no. Because again, they're not liberals. These are not people that you can negotiate with or debate with. These are far left authoritarians. They've managed to create a political and media environment where Hillary Clinton feels perfectly secure to go on air and say that people that she disagrees with need to be formally deprogrammed. I mean, if you're an old school liberal and you haven't woken up yet, I mean, there's no hope for you. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Please subscribe, like, and share. Sharing really helps me out. I thank you for that. I will see you next time.